Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone, my name is Mohamad Afandi, and today we're going to present to you about our mini project in subject introductory statistics. So this is the title of our project, relationship between gaming hours and body mass index BMI among the UPSI student. This is the population and sample that we're focusing on. So we're going to go through the most important part in our project, that is our objective. We have 4 objectives. The first objective is to determine the mean variance and standard deviation of BMI among UPSI students who actively participate in video game. And the second objective is to compare UPSI student BMI between different amount of time spent on esport games by using ANOVA. And the third objective is to compare the mean BMI between UPSI students who play PUBG Mobile and Mobile Legends. And last but not least, the fourth objective is to compare the variance in BMI among UPSI students who play esport with respect to whether they exercise or rarely exercise or never exercise. So this is the significance of our project. The first is method. We have descriptive statistic, hypothesis test of the mean, hypothesis test about the population variance, and one-way ANOVA. And while the instrument, we use a Google form to collect response from 50 UPSI students regarding their time spent on gaming BMI. Microsoft Excel was then used to analyze the data gathered from the form, helping us to draw conclusions related to our topic. And let's go to the first objective, is to determine mean variance and standard deviation BMI among UPSI students who actively participate in video game. This is the data that we collect from the Google form. We have total of student is 50 students, and the total of BMI after adding all the BMI is 1075.82. So this is the way to calculate mean by using the mean formula. So after calculating, we get the mean is 21.52. By referring to the BMI range, it is between 18.5 to 24.9. That means it's still healthy range. So next, we're going to go through to the variance. So we still use the same data as we calculate the mean. So this is the way how to calculate variance. We use the variance formula. So after calculating, we get 18.27. So the variance of BMI among UPSI students that actively participate in video game is 18.27. Next, standard deviation. By using the standard deviation formula, so we get 4.27 standard deviation BMI among the UPSI students that actively participate in video game. Next, by using the software that is Microsoft Excel, we get the mean is 21.5166 and the median is 20.4809, and the standard deviation, same as we calculate in manual way, 4.27. That's all from me. Thank you.
Objective 2, we want to compare UPSI students' BMI between different amount of time spent on esport games by using ANOVA. For this objective, we want to see whether the amount of time spent on playing games affect the player's BMI. For each null, mu1 equal to mu2 equal to mu3. Or we can say that the mean of the player's BMI between different amount of time spent playing video games are equal. For each alternative, not all 3 mean of the player's BMI between different time spent of playing video games are equal. We use F distribution to make this test because we are comparing 3 means. Let's use 5 significant level. The significant level is 0.05. Since ANOVA one-way test is always right tail, the area in the right tail of the F distribution curve is 0.05. To get the critical value of F, we need to determine the degree of freedom for numerator, which is k minus 1, and 3 minus 1, and we get 2. And the degree of freedom for denominator, n minus k, 50 minus 3, and we get 47. From the F distribution table, the critical value for F with degree of freedom for numerator 2 and degree of freedom for denominator 47 and 0.05 area in the right tail of the F distribution curve is 3.195. So this is the table of calculation. To get the sum of the value in sample T, we just add the player's BMI all together, and the size in sample N is just the sample from each group, and the sum of square of the value in sample x square is similar to T, but before we add them, we square them. Moving on to the calculation of sum square. For the sum square between sample, we get 43.74. For sum square within the sample, we get 851.26. Now for the calculation of mean square, for the variance between sample, we get 21.87. And for the variance within sample, we get 18.11. Here is the ANOVA table using manual calculation, and here is the calculation in ANOVA table using Microsoft Excel. Now we can finally calculate the value of test statistic F, which is 1.207, Since the value of test statistic f 1.207 is smaller than the critical value of f 1.32 and fall in the non-rejection region, we fail to reject H null. And we can conclude that the mean of players' BMI between different time spent on playing video games are equal.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this brief yet fascinating presentation. Today, we are tackling a question that merges health and gaming. Is there a difference in BMI between players of Mobile Legends and PUBG Mobile? Let's explore what the data tells us. One of our goals is to determine if the mean BMI of Mobile Legends players differs significantly from that of PUBG Mobile players. This requires a statistical approach, specifically hypothesis testing. We set a 5% significance level for our analysis to ensure a robust conclusion. Here is what we work with. For Mobile Legends players, we collected the sample size, calculated the mean BMI, and also determined the standard deviation. Similarly, for PUBG Mobile players, we recorded the same values to ensure a consistent comparison. These inputs form the foundation for our statistical calculations. Our null hypothesis was very straightforward. The mean BMI of Mobile Legends players equals to the mean BMI of PUBG Mobile players. The alternative hypothesis, of course, posited that the two means differ. By using the provided data, we calculated the critical value and also test statistic. Our critical point obtained from normal distribution table is 1.96, while the test statistic value is negative 0.35. This value was then compared against the critical region to assess the validity of the null hypothesis. Here is the data obtained after I have used a data analysis software in Excel for our hypothesis testing. Here is the result. The test statistic fell within the non-rejection region, meaning we do not reject the null hypothesis. Simply put, the analysis found more significant difference in the mean BMI between Mobile Legends and PUBG Mobile players. To make this clearer, the results were also presented visually through graphs showing the distribution of BMI values and where the test statistic fell on the scale. This provided a tangible view of the findings. So, what's the takeaway? Based on this analysis, we can confidently say that in terms of BMI, Mobile Legends and PUBG Mobile players are on equal footing.
Next, I will present the last objective, which is comparing the variance of BMI among UPSI students who play esports, whether they exercise or rarely and never exercise. We are going to walk through the process of performing a hypothesis test by using F distribution. For the first data, to continue the calculation, we need to have the value of sample variance. So, by using this formula, we will get this value as a sample variance, which is 23.088. For the second data, by using this formula, we will get this value as a sample variance, which is 15.136. Next, for the first step, we need to set up our hypothesis. We will use F distribution to make this test. Second step, we need to find the critical value. We will use the significance level of 0.025, the degree of freedom numerator equals to 21, and the degree of freedom denominator equals to 27. We will obtain the value of 2.236746. Step 3, we need to compute the test value. So this is how the value of 1.5378 is obtained. Step 4, we need to make a decision. We will fail to reject the null hypothesis. Moving on the last step, there is not enough evidence to support the claim that the variance in BMI among UPSI students, whether they exercise or rarely or never exercise, is different. This is our result on Microsoft Excel, which is F-test to sample for variances. We got the same answer on our calculation. Now we come to the conclusion. The analysis of BMI data from 50 UPSI students reveal a mean is 21.52 with a variance 18.27 and standard deviation 4.27. The ANOVA test revealed that the test value of F is smaller than the critical value of F and show a significant difference. Next, the Z test showed that the test value of Z was less than the critical Z value, leading to the failure to reject the null hypothesis. Lastly, the F-test results showed that the test value of F was less than the critical value of F. This leads to the failure to reject the null hypothesis, indicating that the variances of the BMI among UPSI students are significantly different.